Well, we're going to tell you about how the Canadian government chose winners and losers in business around the Trucker Convoy because they blacklisted companies that were sympathetic to the Trucker Convoy and made no attempts to keep that information private or protect the privacy of any of those companies on the list. This is according to some new reports. Now, we already know that the government refused to listen to protesters. Recall that the protesters were not protesting the vaccine. They were protesting vaccine mandates for people who had already worked the entire pandemic without a vaccine, worked mostly alone, and wanted the freedom to choose whether or not to get vaccinated. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at the time was very snooty about them. He called them anti-science. We now know that there's science behind a vaccine mandate argument. It doesn't hold up. You can shoot. Oh, yeah, let's let him talk. Let's let him say.
Up to do the right thing to protect the freedoms and the rights of Canadians to get back to the things we love to do. We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. And the overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that. The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
Unacceptable views, he says. Again, we can poke a lot of holes in that. The idea that getting vaccinated was the way out of the pandemic. More about those people. I mean, the companies who had unacceptable views, I suppose, were anyone who thought they have the right to protest. They have the right to say they don't want a mandate. Nothing about the vaccine itself, but against vaccine mandates.
Yeah, I mean, again, you pointed out that these people were many of them were already vaccinated.
Right.
Right, and they wanted the freedom to do their job. Yes. Without government oppression.
Yeah. And again, time has just not been kind to that kind of rhetoric that if everyone doesn't get vaccinated, it prevents everyone else from going back to their regular life. That was never true. We thought it at the time. There was David didn't, but there was a small portion of time when that was the general belief system, that if everyone got vaccinated, then everyone else could go back to their regular life. But given what we now know about transmissibility through what we call now breakthrough cases, wasn't breakthrough cases. Just even Pfizer has said that the vaccine is only to keep you out of the hospital. It's not to prevent contraction. Now, so it wasn't just fringe citizens, though. It was apparently fringe companies, too. And now an MP named Arnold Viersen has submitted a request earlier this year from the ministry to find out the following. Here's his inquiry of ministry, and it's typed at the bottom in very small type, so I will summarize for you. He wants to know what was the total number of employees or full-time equivalents who were assigned to report, monitor, advise, or gather information for their department about the convoy and protesters. So how many people did we have tracking them, basically? Was the information collected shared with any banks or financial institutions? And if so, which ones? Did any non-governmental entities receive this information? And if so, which ones? What were the estimated costs describing the work described in the first task? Now, these are reasonable questions because it would give us a sense of what the government instructed its employees to do, how much work they actually did in reaching into private information, and who was doing it. In response to this, he found out that the finance minister, Chrystia Freeland's office, distributed this blacklist to the police, naming 201 companies. The records show that it was then distributed to Canadian officers of some banks' headquarters in foreign countries. Many of them were trucking companies. So specifically, not just who were the truckers, but what were the companies behind this so that we could then punish them where it hurts in their finances. Of these 201 companies, 198 were Canadian, and the list went much further than that. Here's a summary. It says other banks on the distribution list included France headquarters BNP Paribas, Habib Bank of Pakistan, Hana Financial Group located in South Korea, ICICI Bank Limited of India, Mizuho Financial Group of Japan, and Wells Fargo, headquartered in San Francisco, according to Blacklock that did this original reporting. Now, the RCMP, the police, the Canadian police, offered to act as a conduit of information between provincial and territory law enforcement and financial institutions in order for the entities to fulfill their obligations under the Emergency Economic Measures Order to cease dealing with designated individuals and to determine on a continuing basis whether they were in possession or control of property owned, held, or controlled by on or behalf of a designated person. By official estimate, around $7.8 million held in 267 bank and credit union accounts and 170 Bitcoin wallets owned by the Freedom Convoy sympathizers were frozen by federal authorities at the time of the protests. And accounts were frozen based on this list given to the Royal Police. Now,
Can I ask how?
Go ahead.
Really quick. How do you freeze a Bitcoin wallet? Like, that's supposed to be outside of their purview. How in the heck do you even do that?
They did it with the exchanges. With specifically, I think, was it Coinbase that they did it at the time?
I know they used a bunch of different exchanges. So BlockFi, Coinbase, and if Coinbase, is registered in the United States, the government can do whatever the hell they want with it, right? And that's why a lot of these, of course, DeFi and a lot of these crypto companies don't want to have anything to do with the United States because of all of this government reach-in.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, but this was Canada.
Sorry to derail, but it's just like that's the whole selling point of crypto is that it's outside of their control and their peer view. So to hear that is alarming because a lot of people are invested in that here, and that means they could do the same thing.
Well, to be clear, and I think you're hitting on something that's important, and Natalie brings it up, is that if you have it in cold storage, like you've got your Bitcoin or whatever on your own little dingus, right, not plugged in and not on one of these exchanges. These exchanges are in some ways, many ways regulated, right? They have to fill out KYC, all of stuff. So, BlockFi, Coinbase, a lot of these big companies. So if you have your coins or whatever, your money off of that on a digital wallet that you keep in cold storage, they can't touch it. I mean, unless they come to your house and do whatever they're going to do with it.
Well, they could take it, but
Yeah, and there's your keys. You have that memorized. You have your own keys stored somewhere. They can't ever get access to that. But if you're on these exchanges, they can seize it.
Then it's just a matter of like locking out your username and password in some cases.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the Emergency Act allowed the government to take these extreme measures by blacklisting companies that wanted to stand for their freedoms or wanted to support their employees in doing so. And they froze their assets and they shared their information without any concern for privacy. It would seem, on the surface at least, that this was an egregious abuse of power on the part of the Trudeau government, but we're pretty sure that no one will ever be punished for it because the Canadian government conducted an inquiry and the judge issued 5 volumes of reports, but basically his conclusion was that the inquiry be complete, and unless new politicians bring it up, it will most likely stay that way because he said that, that the Emergencies Act that came during the Trucker Convoy was appropriate.
Oh, okay.
So that's, all of those hearings that we saw, Trudeau testifying, pretty much they said, yeah, you needed to do this because of truckers who wanted to, who had saved our butt during the pandemic, but, didn't want to fall in line when we had a vaccine. So yes, appropriate.
The tyranny, the Canadian tyranny. And, you remember, of course, that Justin Trudeau is Klaus Schwab's favorite protege. He said as much. He's like, no one in the world is a better example of what the World Economic Forum is trying to accomplish than our young Justin Trudeau. So look no further than that. As someone pointed out in the chat, they're rolling out 15-minute cities in Canada. Would love to be able to do a deeper dive on those 15-minute cities in Canada. As they try to control everything up there. Attention, are you an investor looking for an easier way to trade stocks? And would you like 17 free stocks? With Moomoo, my favorite trading platform, there's no steep learning curve. It has a simple interface and it's easy to use, so even beginners can take advantage of the stock market in no time. Plus, it offers powerful tools often reserved for experienced investors like customizable watch lists and advanced charting capabilities. And now Moomoo even has added a powerful new earnings calendar, so you don't have to hunt and peck trying to find the earnings schedule for your favorite companies. Right now, for a limited time, Moomoo is also giving away 17 free stocks when you open your account and make your initial deposits. So even if you never do anything else with your account, you get to keep those free stocks. And for our Australian viewers, Moomoo has some great new deposit bonuses when you open your account. You can learn more about the bonuses for our Australian audience when you visit redacted.inc/Moomoo. Moomoo has zero commission trades, and the app looks amazing on every platform, from iOS to Android to Windows and Mac. Moomoo can help you trade with its advanced tools like their stock screener and their earnings calendar. So no matter what your skill level is, you'll find fantastic tools that can help you trade. So open your free Moomoo account today and get access to zero commission trades plus 17 free stocks when you open your account and make your initial deposits. So to learn more, check out our link at redacted.inc/Moomoo. That's redacted.inc/Moomoo.